Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Parker here with your weekly Quantum Human Design Evolution Report for the week starting on Monday, April the 14th. You know, when I first started teaching and working as a life coach almost 30 years ago, the word manifesting wasn't part of the collective vocabulary. If you talked about manifesting, people really didn't know what that meant. It took the movie The Secret really to sort of slowly begin to integrate that word into our collective vocabulary. And it's really kind of interesting now when you scroll on Instagram, for example, to see like how many people are using the word manifesting and how popular and how powerful that word has become to us collectively. To me, this is a really good sign, right? It tells us that something has shifted in our innate capacity to create, that we have begun to integrate into our collective understanding that we can choose how we experience life, that we do have maybe not control, because I think maybe we don't have complete control, but certainly we have influence over what we create and how we experience what we create. One of the biggest things that I see people get wrong when we talk about manifesting is being unable to distinguish the difference between a desire and inspiration. Let me clarify that because it's really important and certainly is a factor that can go into helping you explore how you can better create a life that is a reflection of what you truly want and desire. Now, when I talk about a desire, usually what I'm talking about is a band-aid solution to manifesting. This is the place where we start to tell ourselves, oh, if I just had $10,000, or oh, if I could just take a year off from work, or if I could just get X amount of money in the bank, then I could fill in the blank, right? We tend to think that in the process of consciously calling in what we want into our lives, that we're also responsible for the details, that we have to figure out what it is that we need and want to make our dreams come true. Now, that's not so easy. And also, sometimes that can be really limiting because if you have a belief that your dream is really, really big and maybe a little bit impossible, and maybe there's a part of you that doesn't deserve it, and certainly there's probably a part of you that doesn't actually know how to make that dream come true. And we'll call that dream inspiration. If you've got that going on in your life, and most of us will, because part of our dreams, if you will, part of our inspiration is supposed to be bigger than we can accomplish on our own. It's supposed to be, our inspirations are supposed to be the curriculum from which we learn how to grow in our faith, how to strengthen our innate creative power, how to step outside of the limitations of the story we're telling right now and expand beyond, right? To fulfill the full potential of our human story. When we get in the weeds of trying to figure out, oh, these are the 10 things I need to have in place before I can step into that inspiration, we start to bungle up the manifesting process. And oftentimes we shut it down because our desires are actually too small. If we play small, if we dream small, what happens is, first of all, you put yourself at risk for burnout. When you're trying to create something that you probably actually could create just through your own sheer will, right? You could, if you really, thought about it, you probably could create $10,000 with your own sheer will. You could get a side gig, you could get a side hustle. There's something you could do. It wouldn't be easy, and you might not necessarily know exactly what to do, but you'd probably figure that out, right? But if you're going to create a dream or hold a dream and inspiration for yourself that's really, really big, like you're going to write a New York Times best-selling book and you don't know how, there's no amount of will that you can implement to force that into being, right? There's a certain amount of, we'll call it magic, that has to happen, serendipity, synchronicity, that has to happen in order for that to become fulfilled. The second issue with desires is that desires don't really fire us up, right? They really don't. Like getting $10,000 is not really your life's work, right? It's just a temporary thing, a band-aid solution to a potential problem that you might be experiencing or a perception of lack that you might be experiencing. And when we put all our energy into creating that thing that doesn't really turn us on, isn't really exciting us, again, it causes us to lose energy. It causes us to leak energy. And actually our spirit is sort of like, do we really want to put the effort forth? And it's oftentimes why we don't consciously do the manifesting process, because something inside of us knows that that's not big enough. That's not bold enough. That's not even really true to who I am, right? Our inspiration The motivation for our inspirations, those really big dreams, and let's talk about, the word inspire, right? It's breathing in, but we breathe in because the dream is so big that it kind of takes our breath away, right? When we see it, it's that thing that sometimes when you think about it or you stumble upon it, maybe in a workshop or a training, it literally brings tears to your eyes because it's so true and so real to you. That inspiration doesn't have a secondary reason for its manifestation other than it's yours to do. It's the thing that is yours to do. And that thing that is yours to do is oftentimes a thing that only you, in this entire world of humans, that only you can do. It's the thing that only is yours to fulfill. The desires, anybody can make 10K for the most part. Anybody can figure out how to take a couple of weeks off from work or a month off for work or even go for a good vacation, right? Those things that are yours to do, that are driven by an intention that is simply, I want to do this because it's mine to do. That's your inspiration. And that's the thing when you start to apply manifesting principles to, that's the thing that amps up that whole manifesting process tenfold. Those things that are band-aid solutions, things that you can kind of do, maybe through your own sheer effort if you felt like it, those things don't really drive the manifesting machine, and they often fall flat. And oftentimes they fall flat because we just don't really have the energy for it, right? Your life's work is not to manifest 10K. Your life's work might be to write a best-selling novel or to become a speaker or to become a healer. We have to learn what our inspirations are versus what our desires are, and use our capacity to create and focus that capacity to create on our inspirations, those things that are ours to fulfill, rather than on the little things that we think we need along the way to make the dream come true. It's not up to you to make the dream come true. The thing you can do to expedite and influence those dreams coming true is to get radically authentic with who you are, which is really the curriculum that's being laid out for us by two groupings of planets. The first grouping is Mercury, Venus, and Mars this week. And the second grouping is Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, I want to just bring to your awareness that if you're trying to figure out who are you, who's your authentic self, and what do you need to do maybe to disrupt your life, to bring it more into alignment with your authentic self, if you're going through a life transition, if you're wanting to consciously change your life so that it becomes a more authentic expression of the person you were born to be, which, by the way, I think right now at this time on the planet is literally the most revolutionary thing you can do. That when we are in touch with our authentic self, we cannot be influenced by outside forces. When you know who you are, when you know your inspirations, and you know what's yours to do in this life, no one can take that away from you. No one can control that. And when you know how to operate and create your life from that place, you become uncontrollable. That, my friends, is a revolutionary act. If you want to join me starting on April the 28th and learn how to commit that revolutionary act, how to become a relentlessly authentic revolutionary, I call that a cosmic revolutionary, join me for my upcoming masterclass series. We're going to be talking about how to use transformation and change in the world and in your personal lives, how to leverage that so that you can become the fulfillment of your authentic self and step into the manifestation of your inspiration and your dreams. So I'm going to put the registration link below. It starts, this is a 5-day masterclass series, starts on Monday, April the 28th, runs for 5 days. We're going to talk about the 3 major phases in transformation: disruption, the void, expansion. We're going to talk about exactly what you need to do to start transforming your life so that it becomes a reflection of the person you were born to be, so you can take back control over your life and step into your fulfillment of your inspiration. All right, let's talk about this week. First of all, I'll do the sun and the earth this week just to kind of, not that it's never irrelevant, it's not, but there's 2 big things that I want to talk about this week. So the sun starts us off this week highlighting the gate 42, the gate of conclusion. The earth grounds us in the gate 32, endurance. Now this is the same energy, this gate 32, that the full moon was highlighting this weekend. So we're still on Monday here in the glow of the full moon. And this full moon has been saying and inviting us to look at, what do we need to do? What do we need to clear out of the way because the full moon is always about clearing things out of the way. What do we need to do to clear out of the way so that we can set the stage and be prepared to innovate, to change, to transform our lives, to become the manifestation of the values that we hold true and dear, and to innovate, to create, to bring in new expressions of the true story of who we are. On Wednesday, the sun moves into the gate 3, that gate of innovation. The earth grounds us in the gate 50, nurturing. I want to just slowly, just sort of gently bring to awareness why nurturing is so important to transformation. You know, when we are here to bring change to the world, and I suspect that's probably all of you listening to this, you know, it means that we're here to be different. And when we're here to be different, because we're here to bring change to the world, it can be kind of lonely, right? It can feel sort of like you're the only one. Even when you're surrounded by people who really genuinely love you, it can still feel like nobody really gets you. I get that, right? I understand that. Nurturing and being nurtured, and sometimes it means self-nurturing, is essential for us to be able to stay the course on our own radical, authentic path, right? We cannot bring change and be different and do it in a lonely place. Sometimes you will be lonely if you're here to bring change. It's part of the journey. But for you to be able to endure, to sustain the course of the transformation that you are here to bring, you need support. You need nurturing. Certainly, at the very least, you need self-nurturing. So this week, the sun and the earth remind us that finish up your old unfinished business, get it out of the way so you can make room for the new, and then take care of yourself and nurture yourself and make sure that you're engaging in connection and community and really nurturing your heart and soul and spirit and body so that you have the strength, the endurance that you need in order to bring that unique expression of who you are to the world. You are carrying something that no one else can carry. You are bringing to the world something no one else can bring. And you can't do that by yourself, as ironic as that sounds. And certainly we need each other. Even if we are a band of strange mutants, we need each other to begin or to continue this process of evolving the world. So 2 themes this week: get rid of everything that's not working, spring cleaning of the soul. And number 2, self-care, self-nurturing. You know, love yourself this week so that you can bring the full expression of who you are to the world. All right. Now, both Mercury and Venus, which have been retrograde, are now in a forward station. Now, we're still in the shadow of both of those planets, which means we're in the process of experiencing and implementing everything we've learned from Mercury and Venus in the last couple of months. Now, Mercury and Venus set us out on a curriculum of learning self-regulation, of really having to go deep inside and explore the question, who am I? Who am I really? How do I need to restructure my life? How do I need to create more order in my life so that the order that I'm creating in my life creates an infrastructure, support for me to express the true story, the full story, the divine story of who I really am. So this week we see Mercury highlighting the gate 25, the gate of spirit, which is where our higher self lives. We see Venus highlighting the gate 36, which is the energy of really the energy of, it's called chaos in traditional human design, but it's not chaos, it's pattern disruption, right? And we see Mars highlighting the gate 56, the energy of expansion, which is also a storytelling gate. So Mercury, Venus, and Mars are basically saying, hey, are you living true to your higher purpose? Are you being who you came here to be? If not, what patterns do you need to disrupt in order for you to step into a more fuller, rich expression of the true story of who you are? And what stories are you telling about yourself? And do those stories reflect the true story of who you are? Do you need to add a new version of the story of you? Do you need to have, version you 2.0, a better story that better encompasses the whole truth of who you are? So these very personal planets are sort of bringing us back to that same question: who are you? What is yours to fulfill? What's standing in the way of that? What's keeping you from liberating the true story of who you are? And of course, the answer is always, it's the story that's either liberating or oppressing who you are. So what needs to shift in your story so that you can become a more fuller, richer, authentic expression of who you are? Now, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto Uranus highlights the gate 8, the gate of fulfillment, which is, again, another gate of radical, relentlessly authentic self-expression on the throat. Neptune highlights the gate 25, again, that energy for the higher self. It's conjunct with Mercury this week. And Pluto highlights the gate 41, the gate of imagination, which is also another storytelling place in the chart. So these outer planets, the collective planets, are really kind of thematically mirroring Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And again, asking us, who are we? Who are we really? Who are we really? And is the expression of who we are collectively relentlessly authentic? Is it true? Are we actually being the fulfillment of the potential of who we are as human beings? Neptune is saying, maybe we need to get reconnected to our higher self, our higher purpose, and reestablish a more higher perspective on what's possible in the human story. And Pluto is saying, okay, let's do that. And let's start dreaming of a better world, a better expression of the human story. How can we shift and change our collective story so that it becomes a better reflection of who we are collectively, of who we are as human beings? So I love that we've got this sort of personal and collective narrative reframe happening on these certain levels, different levels. What I also love is that Saturn highlights the gate 36. That's also in the nodes. It's also where Venus is living this week. That gate 36 energy is all about disrupting patterns. It's all about pushing out into the new. It's exploratory and adventurous, right? It's inviting us to let go of the old stories so that we can disrupt the things that need to be disrupted, including patterns and habits that don't serve us anymore. And Venus, which is where our reward is, says, if we do this work, we'll have more and we'll have more to share. Not only personally with our own, families and communities, but with each other in general as human beings. So certainly a lot of inspiration, if you will, playing out in the celestial weather this week. Certainly a lot of opportunities to do some dream time work this week. And certainly an opportunity for us to continue to explore, who are we? Who are we really? And really trusting that if we can answer that question really authentically, with the full perspective on the potential of the fulfillment of that story, who are you and who are we, that if we can be the people we dream of being, then we can tap into not a world where we're manifesting desires. Those are short term. Those are easy to create. And certainly, as I said, we can create those maybe with a lot of willpower, but we can create them. But rather, who are we and who do we need to become in order to manifest those bigger dreams, those inspirations, those big desires that are the full manifestation of the human potential, and require us perhaps to utilize faith as a key element of the creative process. We need to be dreaming about something bigger than what we can create by ourselves. And certainly if we step into the fulfillment of the human story, we're going to A, for sure need each other, and B, probably we're going to need a little bit of faith. And that act of harnessing our collective power as well as the power of our faith promises to call in a whole new world and a whole new level of the creative fulfillment of the human story. So dream big this week. Really dream big this week and get relentlessly honest about answering the question, who are you? Who are you really? And are you being the person you need to be to fulfill the true story, the story that only you can fulfill in the human condition? Have a really great week. Take good care of yourselves. Be well. I'll talk to you next week.